Welcome to new viral drama, where secrets get spilled and Hollywood's dirty laundry gets hung out for the whole internet to roast. Let's stop acting like this industry is just red carpets and platinum plaques. Behind the cameras and award shows is a brutal system that chews people up and spits them out. And no, it ain't about talent. It's about playing a game you didn't even know you were signed up for. But once in a while, someone breaks the silence and says, "I'm done with the fake." And this time, two legends who made it out the maze are Ice Cube and Vanilla Ice. Yeah, these two have seen it all. The fame, the money, the backstage madness. And now they're speaking up like never before. You know them for their bars and their culture-shifting moves, but what they're exposing now hits harder than any track they ever dropped.
Some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of the club. That pisses them off.
Ice Cube and Vanilla Ice are calling out the twisted side of the game that fans never get to see. And it ain't just labeled beef or arguments in the booth, it's way darker than that. Vanilla Ice didn't just retire. He escaped. He straight up said the industry was laced with weird energy and power plays. And staying at the top came with nasty strings attached. Exploitation, control, manipulation, all wrapped up in the illusion of fame. He ain't hiding it no more. The industry nearly broke him, but now he's calling it out loud and clear. He made it real clear. Success comes with a price tag, and Vanilla Ice wasn't about to sell his soul for a spotlight. He chose his peace, his sanity, and his spirit over all that flashy mess.
Did they manipulate you?
No, I'm an independent artist. Always have been. I started off on independent labels.
So how were you able to avoid this trap that so many others fell in? What did you do right?
I wouldn't let an A&R go in my studio. Like, you're not coming in here telling me how to make a record.
Right.
I'm come from the heart. I'm gonna do what I feel. So I never allowed an A&R to. I never had anybody A&R me, but Dr. Dre. You know. So
that's pretty.
I just wasn't ever going for it, and they just kind of like let me alone, do my thing. And I was on the independent label like Priority. I wasn't on a major. And majors, they do it with singers, they do it with rappers. They have a lot to say in what's the finished product.
And now he's breaking it down unapologetically. Then there's Ice Cube, a straight-up heavyweight in the game. Cube didn't just show up in the industry, he took the mic, flipped the script, and built an empire. But when it came time to play puppet for the system, he said, "Nah, I'm good." While others folded under pressure, Cube stood tall and kept it real from day one. He's never been about the Hollywood handshake or that phony fake love. He said it before, and he's still standing on it. He ain't here to play dress up for nobody's agenda. Cube never sold out, and never will. This industry loves to chew folks up and spit them out, especially when you don't follow their blueprint. Some stars get silenced, pushed into submission, or even used like pawns just to keep their fame floating. But not Cube, not Vanilla. These two said, "Keep your club, we ain't joining." They didn't just survive the game. They saw through the illusions, called out the chaos, and walked away with their integrity untouched. That's rare out here. And let's be real, they both had their reasons for staying out the club. Vanilla Ice even warned folks, saying straight up, if you don't join, you get left with nothing.
I think they all around. I don't think it's worse than any other profession.
That alone should tell you how deep the rabbit hole goes. For the longest time, people clowned Vanilla Ice like he was just some one-hit wonder who fizzled out after Ice Ice Baby. Just a goofy pop rap act that came and went. But guess what? That story ain't just wrong. It's hiding a whole different reality, and it's way darker than folks ever imagined. See, according to fresh reports and some slick hints from Vanilla Ice himself, he didn't disappear. He escaped. This man didn't fall off because of weak album sales or changing trends. He walked away because something creepy was pulling at him from behind the curtains. At the peak of his fame, Ice was allegedly approached by some of the industry's most powerful gatekeepers. The same kind of names being whispered about in the biggest scandals we're seeing today. These weren't just business deals. They were invitations. Behind closed doors, private parties, strange rituals. That so-called inner circle everyone swears doesn't exist, until someone brave enough calls it out. But Vanilla Ice? He slammed the door shut, said, "Nah, I'm not selling my soul for no platinum plaque."
What is worth doing for ratings? I understand what it is worth doing when the industry is canceling one black guy. I know what happens when they are going to elevate another. And I know what happens when they don't care about either of them. This is how quarterbacking go. So the question is, hey, your quarterback just got sacked. Did we know we was fin to sack your quarterback? We absolutely did. It was a play, buddy. We've been rehearsing it, working it out, making sure that at some point, when you get to this level, we can make sure we knock you from a $20 million man to putting in the news that people won't hire you no more and your career is done. Yeah.
So you said it was a setup.
You can do all of that.
You saying it was?
I'm saying that everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend, that seems like a setup is.
And that decision, it might have saved him. Literally. Behind the scenes, he was under heavy pressure to give in, stay quiet, get in line, and go through some disturbing high-level hazing that insiders say is part of the sit game some artists are forced to play just to climb the ladder. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about control, about breaking somebody down and rebuilding them into whatever the industry wanted. He saw it for what it was, and bounced before it swallowed him whole. Vanilla Ice didn't just walk away. He exposed the whole setup. In interview after interview, he's been raw and unfiltered about how the glitz and glam turned into straight-up hell. The fame, the fortune, the flashy lights, it all felt like a dream.
It irks me that anyone has that kind of power over anyone. We all have a choice without horrible consequences to accept or deny, but there is an evil in Hollywood that many know but won't say. Cube, thank you so much for keeping it real and being your own boss. You're not alone. I pray that God keeps you safe. On the other hand, a few of them are actually calling Ice Cube out for spreading misinformation without concrete evidence.
Until he realized it was a straight-up trap. A shiny cover masking something way darker underneath. And the moment he refused to play along, the machine flipped on him fast. People close to him say once he turned down those creepy invites and shady offers, it wasn't fans that dropped him. It was the industry that iced him out. They didn't come for him loud. They did it quiet. Silent blacklisting. That's how they do it. If you don't bow down, you get erased. And for a while, yeah, he did fade into the background. But here's the twist. Vanilla Ice survived it. He didn't go out sad. He stepped back, found himself, and realized what most artists never get the chance to learn. None of this is worth your soul. Now that more stars are finally speaking up and hidden truths are getting dragged into the spotlight, Vanilla's story hits way harder. He wasn't just some one-time pop star. He was a man who stared straight into the darkness and said, "Not me." He chose peace over power. And that decision, it kept him alive when so many others got consumed.
The quote that you said in one of your interviews, you said, "At one point in my life, I didn't even know who I was, what my purpose was. I didn't want to live anymore. With hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, I didn't give a shit about life. Who I am today is a complete flip the script opposite of that, and just super grateful, man, for my family, for my kids. And that's the meaning of life, man, the true meaning of life."
100%. We can go around as a young person in this globe and see life in a different way. And then you know what happens is, I shook this whole globe up, you know, like a snow globe. I shook it up. And You think reality is what you see in front of you, and then the snow globe kind of settles a little bit, and then you find out that none of it was real. It was all artificial. It's all just entertainment world. It's all on how people view you, even you. And you find your purpose, you find out who you are. And I didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? Like, I know Justin Bieber could definitely use some advice.
Yeah.
Lost. Because with all the success, nobody that, especially with what happened to me, 10 times even bigger than Bieber or anybody, because of being me and white and who I am. And at the time, it was something far more impactful, if that makes any sense, for people to hate on or take a punch at or anything, right? So it was a groundbreaking thing that really was and probably could have killed me in many, many ways. Not just the Suge Knight way but suicidal way, to the point where all my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares.
Let's not forget, when Ice Ice Baby was ruling the world, Vanilla Ice wasn't just famous. He was the perfect target for the industry to control. But instead of letting them mold him, he broke the cycle. And he's still here to tell the story. What looked like a fairy tale rise for Vanilla Ice was actually the setup for something way darker brewing behind the scenes. While fans were hyped over the flashy outfits, #1 hits, and the screaming crowds, the industry's power players saw a different kind of opportunity. They saw a money-making puppet, a young star they could groom, control, and pull deep into their hidden world of manipulation and twisted power games. This wasn't just about contracts and red carpet events. We're talking about those alleged freak-off parties, the type of hush-hush, invite-only gatherings where deals are made, and souls get tested. These were the rooms where your entire career could either skyrocket or vanish with one move. Back then, even Diddy was still in the shadows, learning from the same shady insiders who allegedly tried to pull Vanilla Ice in. Big names like Clive Davis and Charles Koppelman keep popping up when folks whisper about those dark circles. These guys weren't just rich, they were tied into something way bigger and way more secretive. And Vanilla, he was the perfect target. Fresh off the wild success of his debut album, To the Extreme, Ice had it all. Fame, public attention, and serious cultural impact. The industry wanted him bad. But unlike many who fall for the bait, he peeped game early. He saw the pressure, the strange meetings, the push to attend private events, and the energy around it all. And he said, nah, I'm not built for that. But walking away came at a cost. 1 minute, he was everywhere, dominating music, showing up in movies, even curving Madonna's proposal. The next, he vanished from the spotlight, labeled a joke, a has-been, a one-hit wonder. But behind that fall-off was a calculated move, and a man who chose freedom over fame. But that whole one-hit wonder label, that was no accident. It was a carefully crafted cover-up.
Manipulated, and I was a puppet.
Let's take rap music.
Let's take it.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. You know, the records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry. You know, a lot of artists are frustrated with this kind of music making. You know, a lot of people, feel like they're being controlled by the label. This is how they do it.
The truth? Way messier and way more threatening to the system. Vanilla Ice didn't fall off. He walked away because he refused to play their game. He wasn't about to sell his soul just to stay at the top of the charts. He wasn't about to become another industry puppet dressed up in designer lies. He chose independence, and the price for that? His entire career. There were wild stories floating around at the time. Fan events spiraling out of control, record label tension boiling behind the scenes, and weird energy surrounding the people trying to reshape his image. But beneath the platinum records and flashy magazine shoots was a young dude who knew something wasn't right. He didn't fully understand it all back then, but something in his gut told him to run. Before the machine could devour him like it did so many others, Vanilla Ice dipped. Not because he couldn't handle fame, but because he could see through the illusion for what it really was. The media didn't bury him. He rejected the industry before it had the chance to bury him. And now, years later, as more celebs start breaking their silence and the truth about those secret Hollywood rooms starts leaking out, Vanilla Ice's quiet exit makes way more sense. He wasn't a flop. He was a near-miss target, a near sacrifice who made it out alive. At just 23, Vanilla was living what looked like every artist's dream. #1 on the charts, fans losing their minds, money flowing. But behind the spotlight, he was barely surviving a nightmare no one ever talks about. To the industry, Vanilla Ice wasn't an artist. He was a pawn, a fresh new product to dress up, control, and throw away when the shine wore off. They saw him as the perfect setup. Young, flashy, marketable, and totally unaware of how dirty the business really gets. They shoved him into the spotlight, slapped a label on him, fed the media a fake backstory, and built an image designed to rake in cash. He wasn't just selling hits, he was the product being sold.
It's to keep a construct, it's to keep things working the way they are, to keep certain people relegated to the bottom of the pyramid.
Everyone at the top knew it. The label heads, the execs, the handlers. And eventually, Ice started to wake up to it too. What fans didn't see back then was the shady stuff happening behind the glitz. While the world was jamming to Ice Ice Baby, Ice was being quietly approached by some of the darkest corners of the industry. Whispers of freak-off parties, strange initiations, and eerie invites started popping up. These weren't after parties. They were exclusive, secretive gatherings run by elite power players. Allegedly built to test loyalty, break artists down, and drag them deeper into a system that runs on silence and control. And at the center of all that, the same circles that later got linked to Diddy's rise. But before Diddy became the face of that world, Vanilla Ice was already being nudged through those doors. Big names like Charles Koppelman and Clive Davis, legends in the game, allegedly had plans for him. But they didn't just want his voice, they wanted his submission. Ice wasn't having it. He pushed back, he refused to bow. And the second he chose rebellion over obedience, the industry clapped back hard. What came next was a brutal, calculated backlash meant to bury him for good. They turned Vanilla Ice into the culture's favorite punching bag, overnight. Critics came for his neck, his whole backstory got ripped apart. Arsenio Hall dragged him on national TV, and fans started accusing him of faking his roots. Hip-hop, on cue, turned its back on him. But what most people didn't know, that whole Miami lie, the backstory, the image, was all scripted by the industry. Yeah, the same folks who built him up were the ones who flipped the switch. They wrote the fake bio, crafted the clean-cut Florida boy narrative, and turned him into a novelty act, just to make money off him. Vanilla was just trying to protect his private life, but once he stopped playing their game, they hit him with a brutal smear campaign.
Where all my dreams that I thought were dreams turned out to be nightmares.
Despite the noise, Vanilla Ice wasn't some silver spoon outsider. He came up rough, lower middle class, no real father in the picture, grinding through odd jobs and coming up in a mostly black hip-hop scene where he had to earn every bit of respect. He wasn't handed a mic, he fought for it. He battled, he breakdanced, and he bled for it, literally. The man got stabbed 5 times, nearly lost his life, and still bounced back ready to fight. That ain't no gimmick, that's straight survival. But once he stopped bowing to the agenda, the industry tossed him to the wolves, tried to destroy his name, but not everyone turned their back. Real ones like Tupac, MC Hammer, and Public Enemy saw the truth and gave him respect. Tupac especially wasn't afraid to speak up. He told Ice to his face, "You're dope, and you're gonna leave a legacy." And in that era, that kind of love didn't come easy. But Pac saw through the noise, and he was right. Vanilla Ice might not have stayed on every magazine cover, but don't get it twisted. He left his stamp on the industry and lived to tell a truth most artists never survive long enough to speak. While others got chewed up, spit out, or worse, Ice escaped. He paid with his career, yeah, but he kept something way more valuable, his soul. So when people say he disappeared, let's be real. He didn't fall off. He got out. Let's call it what it really was. a straight-up escape plan. While the media clowned him, calling him fake, a one-hit joke, or saying he lost his spot, something way darker was going down behind the scenes. Back in 1990, while Ice Ice Baby was topping charts, Vanilla Ice was staring down Suge Knight, one of the most feared dudes in the music game. And this wasn't no handshake meeting. Suge reportedly pulled up with 6 goons, roughed up Ice's security, and made it crystal clear: cut me in, or else. And whether or not Ice was literally dangled from that balcony like the legends say, one thing's for sure, he was definitely threatened. He got a front row seat to how grimy this business could get. That's the moment he knew this wasn't just about music. This was about survival. But instead of running to another label or selling out like so many others, Vanilla Ice made a different move. He peeped the whole system. The freak-off parties, the creepy manipulation, the way young stars get used up and thrown away. Oren said, "Nah, I'm not built for this circus." He chose peace over puppetry. And that's exactly why he's still standing today, with the receipts, the scars, and the truth. He said no. And that one word, it might have saved his whole life. The same powerful elites that tried to pull Vanilla Ice into their twisted world, they eventually came for others too. Some got devoured by the machine, some just vanished from the spotlight, and some, like Suge Knight, ended up behind bars. But Vanilla, he flipped the whole script. While the execs played their shady power games, Ice dipped out and built a brand new life. He turned his back on the rituals, the handlers, the lies, and chose something real. A legit empire built his way. No blood contracts, no puppet strings. He became a real estate boss, a licensed contractor, a reality TV star, and most importantly, a man who stayed clean, stayed smart, and stayed in control. He didn't need the red carpet. He created something solid outside the flashing lights. And now, that legacy is still standing tall, way after the hype faded. And guess what? People are finally waking up and giving him his flowers. Because looking back, it's clear. Vanilla Ice didn't fall. He won. He beat the system. While others kept chasing fame until it swallowed them whole, he chose peace. And made the smartest move of all, leaving the circus before it could destroy him. But now here's the real question. How many artists out there wish they had done the same? Because let's be honest, not everyone made it out like Vanilla Ice. Some took the deal. Some went along with the game. Some got used, chewed up, and spit out by the same system Ice rejected. Yeah, they might have ended up with Grammys, mansions, and magazine covers, but at what cost? Broken souls, haunted eyes, and in too many cases, complete destruction. Right now, Diddy's name is tangled in every dark whisper spilling out of the industry's shadows. For years, he was seen as the ultimate kingmaker, the mogul, the mastermind, the man who made stars. But behind that polished image, a whole different story is breaking through, full of secrets, manipulation, shady parties, and quiet coercion. The very culture he helped build is now turning its back on him. And whether every lawsuit or allegation sticks or not, one thing's for sure. That kind of power always came with a price. Diddy's no longer just a mogul. He's become the face of everything the industry has tried to keep buried for decades. Then there's Usher, another megastar who reached icon status. But his path, just as complicated. From a young age, Usher was groomed by the same machine that built idols and broke spirits. He grew up inside the system, trained for fame, molded to be perfect, and pressured to stay polished no matter what storm hit behind the scenes. Yeah, he rose to the top, but it didn't come without scars. Legal drama, emotional battles, years of judgment from the public eye. Sound familiar? Because let's be real, this ain't new. We've seen it happen over and over. Think about DMX, a raw lyrical force with emotion in every bar. But his pain wasn't for show, it was real. His addiction, his breakdowns, his spiritual cries, they all came from surviving in a world that tried to own him. DMX rapped about demons not just as metaphors. but his real battles he faced daily. And in the end, those demons caught up to him. This industry has a pattern. It lifts you up, shines you bright, then watches you fall. And that fall, it's not by accident. Britney Spears, groomed from her teenage years, thrown into the global spotlight, and then stripped of her freedom, while the world watched like it was reality TV. People laughed when she shaved her head, but they missed the truth. That was a young woman breaking after years of being controlled, puppeteered, and pushed past her limits. And she's not alone. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Amy Winehouse, Prince. The list is heavy and tragic. They had the money, the talent, the legacy, but still felt hollow. Because here's the truth the industry hopes you never figure out. This game ain't about talent. It's about utility. You're a product, not a person. And once you're no longer useful, you're tossed like trash. The fame, the lights, the luxury, all of it's bait. Once they get you in the door, they groom you, reshape you, and bleed you dry. They put you in rooms that leave permanent scars. They hand you substances not for fun, but to keep you numb, quiet, and easy to control. Try to walk away, you either vanish without a sound or fall apart in front of millions. These stars didn't fall off. They were pulled under piece by piece. So while folks used to mock Vanilla Ice for stepping away, maybe now they should ask, what did the ones who stayed really walk away with? And what parts of themselves did they lose forever? The good news? People like Vanilla Ice and Ice Cube are finally breaking the silence. And Ice Cube? He's never been one to play it safe. When he sat across from Bill Maher on Real Time, that wasn't just a conversation. It was a straight-up mic drop on the entire industry. Cube didn't yell, he didn't snap. He let the truth speak with that cold, calm intensity that's made him a legend. Everybody remembers the headline. Bill Maher dropped the N-word live on air. But what Ice Cube did right after? That wasn't just a clapback. That was a masterclass in truth served cold. Cube didn't raise his voice, didn't throw a tantrum. He just locked eyes with Maher and said, "It's not just about that word. It's about the attitude behind it." And that's when things got real, because Cube wasn't just talking to Maher. He was calling out the entire entertainment system, the one that's been crossing lines for decades, especially when it comes to black culture. He peeled back the curtain on the stuff people in Hollywood like to pretend doesn't exist. The slick appropriation, the token roles, and the quiet gatekeeping that decides who gets to shine and who gets sidelined. He made it crystal clear. He sees the game, and he's not playing by their rules. That moment wasn't just about one dude saying something wild on TV. It was about calling out a machine that's been eating off black creativity. Off black pain, black talent, and black stories, while pushing the very people who built the culture to the edge of the spotlight. Cube didn't just speak for himself. He exposed the ugly truth so many are too scared to say out loud. And he did it with straight-up power and calm fire. Ice Cube's stance has always been crystal clear. Don't profit off the culture if you're not willing to stand with the people who built it. He's been preaching that truth for decades, from the raw days of NWA, through his solo reign, and even in his bold moves as an independent filmmaker. He's never bowed to the politics, never softened his message to make the gatekeepers comfy. And that's why the industry fears him. Cube doesn't just talk the talk, he lives it. And the powers at the top? Oh, they've been watching. Why? Because the people were listening. And Cube was telling the kind of truth that scared the ones in power. That's the part the industry couldn't control. See, most artists get taught real quick. Play the game, stick to the script, keep it cute and quiet. But Ice Cube? He ripped that script to shreds. He didn't just throw out bars about police brutality. He called it by name. Forced America to hear what it tried so hard to mute. While labels were chasing polished puppets they could parade around and profit from, Cube was out here setting fire to their blueprint. What most people don't get is this. Injustice isn't some mistake in the system. It is the system. The same machine that makes millions off pop stars also cashes in on chaos, violence, incarceration, division. And when Cube started pulling back the curtain through his lyrics, he wasn't just rapping. He was exposing the business model. He was too raw, too sharp, too unbothered by the fame traps. While other rappers were getting shaped into commercial products, Cube stayed dangerous. He didn't beg for airplay, didn't water down his bars, and he damn sure didn't join any secret circles or clubs just to climb the ladder. Cube walked away from major label politics with his chest out and forged his own lane. From a Mary KKK's most wanted to death certificate, he never folded. He doubled down on the truth, even when it cost him exposure. He refused to be groomed, refused to be owned. He chose freedom over fame every single time. And what did Ice Cube get for standing on truth, respect, longevity, freedom, but also blackballing, media silence, locked doors? Because the very things that made Cube a legend are the same things that made him a threat to the system. Let's be real. This industry doesn't reward rebellion. It rewards obedience, and Cube, he's never been the type to keep quiet just to stay in good graces. That's why he's not popping up at every flashy event, not sitting at those elite roundtables, not caught up in the celebrity backpatting circus. He never needed the invite. While other artists sold pieces of themselves just to sit at the industry's table, Cube flipped the whole thing over and said, "I'll build my own damn table." And that's exactly what he did, on his own terms. In recent conversations that went deep, touching everything from secret power plays to AI-driven entertainment, Cube dropped the kind of raw truth that makes execs uncomfortable. He sees through the illusion, and he ain't scared to call it out. The real danger in this industry, according to Cube, isn't who runs it. It's how they run it. It's not about finding talent. It's about finding followers. People they can shape, script, and control. It ain't just about trends. It's about turning artists into tools. They choose the faces, fund the image, create the narrative, and push it until it becomes reality. But Cube, he peeped the whole setup early, and instead of getting used, he broke free. Because once you know the truth, the real ugly truth, the only question left is, do you play along or burn the script? Cube chose fire. That price? Ice Cube never wanted to pay it, not even when fame was dangled in front of him like candy. The invites came, slick, shiny, straight from the industry's biggest names, even Diddy. But Cube didn't bite. He saw what was really behind the curtain. Because the kind of success they offer, it comes with strings, and not the kind you can cut. We're talking full control. Entry into the club sounds sweet until you realize the cost is your soul, your voice, your authenticity. And Cube, he wasn't about to sell out just to sit at a table full of puppets. He wasn't trying to play nice with gatekeepers. He wasn't trying to be anyone's poster boy. He didn't want to be molded, owned, or muzzled. He's seen it all. How the machine seduces young artists, makes them feel like royalty, then strips them down once they're no longer useful or start asking the wrong questions. All those flashy cars, red carpets, brand endorsements, bait. Designed to trap the next chosen one. And while the real ones, the ones who push back, get blacklisted, silenced, or worse, Cube kept moving on his own terms. They couldn't silence him. They couldn't shape him. And that's why he's still considered dangerous. That's why they'd rather erase him from the conversation than let people really hear what he's saying. Because Ice Cube ain't just calling out the industry. He's pulling the whole blueprint apart, piece by piece. And if you're paying attention, his message ain't just about him, it's a warning. For the next generation, for every new artist thinking the fame is worth it. Because the machine, it's still running. The club, still out here recruiting. And the price of entry, still way too high for anyone who wants to keep their soul intact. Ice Cube has never been the type to follow the rules, especially not the shady ones scribbled behind closed doors in Hollywood boardrooms. Long before his name carried weight in music, film, or culture, Cube already had his eyes wide open. He saw the machine behind the fame, and now he's finally saying what most folks have only dared to whisper for years. There's a club, and it runs deep. Cube's not in it, and truth be told, he never wanted to be. Because this game isn't just about talent or timing. There's a whole system in place, an invisible ladder where success is less about skill and more about submission. Who gets the stage, the deals, the lasting spotlight? Usually the ones who agree to keep quiet, play along, and never challenge the setup. That's the program. Stay silent, stay in line, and don't rock the boat. But Cube? He never signed up for that mess. Not then, not now, not ever. Recently, he's been even more direct, hinting at the dark current running beneath the surface of the entertainment world. While he hasn't named names or claimed to be part of any initiation drama, he sees what's going on. The fast-track careers, the limitless industry backing for some, the sudden blacklisting of others the second they speak out or stop playing by the script. It ain't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. And that's what sets Cube apart. He's never chased validation, never begged for a seat at someone else's table. He's not out here trying to impress gatekeepers. He's out here exposing them. And that quiet confidence, that refusal to be owned, that's exactly what makes him one of the most dangerous voices still standing. Ice Cube ain't out here chasing invites to the flashy Hollywood events or rubbing elbows with the so-called elites just to stay in the loop. Even when he crossed paths with major players, including Diddy, Cube stood tall and made one thing clear: that kind of success doesn't impress him. To Cube, real success means freedom. Creative freedom, financial independence, and mental peace. And that kind of freedom, it's a threat to an industry that thrives on control, image manipulation, and keeping artists dependent. Cube's always seen the entertainment world for what it is: a system that feeds off the young, the hungry, and the unprepared. It grooms them, shapes them, and turns them into polished products made to obey. And if you step out of line, you're gone. Just like that. The cycle keeps spinning, generation after generation, because the industry counts on artists being too desperate or too scared to push back. But Cube, he didn't just push back, he walked away. Even when he built real bonds with artists like Jamie Foxx in the late 90s, it wasn't about power moves or climbing some fake social ladder. It was about mutual respect, real values, and genuine energy. The kind that doesn't come with contracts or strings attached. And that's why the system doesn't like him. Cube doesn't need the club. He never did. And that's exactly what makes him dangerous to it. He's living proof that you can succeed without selling out. And that's a message the gatekeepers would rather stay buried. And guess what? He's not the only one who's been saying it. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear it all. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss the real stories behind the headlines. I've got new videos every day spilling the secrets the industry doesn't want you to hear. Catch you in the next one.